पॉलिसी मैच्योर होने पर क्लेम्स की बरवक्त अदायगी बहुत आसान, इसीलिए इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ जुबली लाइफ से।
You're watching Jubilee Life Insurance Game Day as we're building up to the big one. Yup, one game remaining, two teams remaining, all vying for that all-important shiny silverware called the T20 World Cup. On the one hand, you have India. Last time played in the final in 2014. On the other hand, you have South Africa. Never made it past the semi-finals before the 2024 edition. And to talk about that game, I'm joined in studio by Dasgupta. Deep, good to see you. As I mentioned right now, not just South Africa, because generally we talk about South Africa and ICC events, but even India. Last time they won an ICC event, 2013.
That's right.
Yep, Champions Trophy. So both these teams, in a sense, they've got to fight those demons before the start of this game.
Absolutely, yes. There's absolutely no two ways about it. But obviously, going into this game, I guess India would be firm favourites, but that would also mean that South Africa would be unshackled. They would have that underdog tag, which might help them to get out of that mindset of expectations, because that would be on the Indian side in terms of expectations from the whole cricketing world.
Both these teams undefeated so far. In fact, whoever wins the tournament will be the first time in the history of the tournament that an undefeated side will go on to win the tournament. But if you look back at both these teams' campaign, anything you'd want them to tick or anything that's an area of concern before that big final for you?
Yeah, but I mean, both the teams are undefeated, but their path has been very different. I mean, India, if you look at it, apart from that close Pakistan game, every game has been rather easy and comprehensive wins for India. South Africa, most of the games have been very, very close. And again, if you're looking at bases, it seems like India has checked most of those boxes, covered most of those bases. But if you look at South Africa, well, the bowling has done all right. They're batting the middle order, which is such a destructive batting order, middle order rather, really has not fired. The likes of Klaasen, Miller one game, Markram not really. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, there is a little bit of a question mark. I mean, the stronger suit in this format is their middle order, but unfortunately not too many of them have scored runs, so that's one thing they would be aware of.
When you look at that South African lineup, and you see it's a plethora of stars in that lineup who are, of course, forming the fulcrum of your insurance. But when you look at that insurance, you suppose it's coming from your quicks, i.e. Kagiso Rabada, Hendrik Nokia, and even Marco Jansen to a certain extent.
I mean, listen, that's a very rounded bowling unit. You name you name three seamers. Now add a Shamsi there, and obviously Keshav Maharaj, who's been absolutely brilliant this tournament. And if the pitch is going to turn, because in Barbados day game it might be another 160, 165 kind of a surface, Markram becomes important with number of left-handers that India have. So yeah, I mean, that way, yes, they have a really well-rounded and a good bowling attack, and seems to be in form as well.
India's insurance, or should I say India's bowling insurance, on the other hand, rests on those 8 overs of Jasprit Bumrah, Kuldeep Yadav?
Absolutely, yes. But the other standout performer so far in this World Cup for India in terms of bowling, apart from the insurance you mentioned, is Akshar Patel. I think he's had a really, really good World Cup. Even the semi-finals, player of the match, bowled beautifully. And apart from those two, I think Akshar has been a standout performer.
So could I say that India's bowling attack versus the South African batting lineup, full of promise, full of stars, but hasn't quite clicked? That is the battle for you, tells you which way this game is going?
To a great extent, yes, because I think if there is any batting unit, given these conditions, is good enough to handle Indian spinners especially, I would say is the South African middle order of Klaasen, Miller, Markram. They've been absolutely superb, and Tristan Stubbs as well. The only negative side to it, a little bit, is South Africa generally goes in with Marco Jansen batting at number 7. That's a tad bit early. Ideally speaking, you would have someone like Marco Jansen, who is an accomplished batter. But ideally, you would want him at number 8. So that is the only thing that they might want to look in, but they don't have too many options, to be fair. So they're going to still go with that same team. But yeah, I mean, more or less Indian bowling, especially the middle overs, versus the South African batting unit.
Finally, what have you seen as far as Barbados is concerned? Day game, India has played one. 181?
Yes, against Afghanistan.
So what can we expect?
See, against Afghanistan, I thought India scored at least 15 runs extra on that pitch. I still think it's a day game, same as the Afghanistan game. So I would still think it'll be a good surface, but there would be some help for the spinners. Might not be as much as the semi-final pitches that we saw. I think it still should be a 160, 165 pitch.
Thanks for your time, Deep. You, of course, were watching Jubilee Life Insurance Game Day as we were building up to the final of the T20 World Cup. India versus South Africa.